Good afternoon. And here we are in December the 1st, Curriculum Committee opening remarks. Welcome to everyone. And thank you, committee members, for joining us today. Appreciate it. We now have a website. You can watch our meetings, get information about our committees, find agendas and meeting materials at achieve.lausd.net/CIC. The CIC is Curriculum Instruction Committee, CIC. And I want to thank Vernal Skaggs and his team in the Division of Instruction for making this happen. It's a wonderful site, and you can click on it if you wanted to hear about some of the wonderful committee meetings we've had last year and this year. You can click on it and say, I want to learn more about boom, and you can see the whole meeting. So thank you so very, very, very much. And please thank your team on our behalf. Not an easy thing to set up a website, in case that you didn't know that. I know that because I tried, failed miserably. Okay, I'm excited that we're going to be hearing from our Community Schools Initiative folks today, because it's a framework that I think holds great promise for all of our schools. Most of us are familiar with at least some of the key pillars that comprise community schools. First, they want to address the needs of the whole child. Second, they want to welcome parents and families as participants in their students' education. Third, they inspire collaborative leadership in the school community. And finally, of course, they have culturally relevant and very, very rigorous curricula. We'll hear from people who understand the theory and, in my opinion, equally as important, the practice of these components. For me, I'm most impressed personally with the concept of problem solving and of having a structure and a place that supports all of the participants so that we're constantly learning from each other and improving our practice. We have a lot of people presenting, so everybody listening, I want everybody to be succinct, because we do want to hear from all of you. And so if the first ones take a long, long time, the last ones won't even get on. So everybody be succinct. We want to hear the presentations, but we also want the people who bother to come here and be committee members to be able to comment and ask questions. This won't be the last time we discuss community schools, I assure you, but it marks our first curriculum instruction meeting along with Dr. Francis Bias as our new Chief Academic Officer. Welcome, welcome. And Bias. So now let me ask each committee member who is present to introduce themselves. We'll get started by my colleagues on the school board. No, we won't, because unfortunately, Dr. McKenna sent a message to my office that he's feeling under the weather and is not going to join us. And actually, my other colleague, Tanya Ortiz Franklin, is on leave and won't be available to the district for another couple of weeks. So we're going to start with everybody else first. And we'll go with in-person first, if there are people online. So let me start with Dr. Bias.
Good morning, Francis Bias present.
Denise Harper, please. I'm sorry, Denise is not here. Is it yet? I can't read my own handwriting. Macaulay Soto?
Present.
Okay, would you just introduce who you are?
My name is Jatina Macaulay Soto, and I'm a teacher librarian at Sotomayor Magnet.
Okay. And then we have Cecily Feltham Hammond.
Hi, my name is Cecily Feltham Hammond. I have 2 kids at Mitchell Tarina Elementary, and I am such a fan of the community school model. We actually got to have Ms. Grijalva come one time and talk to our board, so I am very excited for today.
And Misha Pink.
Hi, I'm Misha Pink. I'm a parent at Bethune Middle School as well as Menlo Avenue Elementary. So I represent District South and Central. I have 4 children.
And Dr. Lourdes Ramirez Ortiz.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lourdes Ramirez Ortiz. I am an administrator of instruction in what is now Region East.
Very good. Thank you all. So here's how we do it. We will hear each of the groups individually We're going to take a couple minutes after each presentation to give you comments and so forth, but I'm going to ask you to be brief because we really want to see the whole picture, and you'll have time at the end to ask the same people questions or different people questions as you see fit or make comments. We tell the public that we do the public speakers at the end, not to make you have to wait around, but because we think after you've heard the presentations, you're much more likely to have comments that relate to what we're talking about. And so that's why we do that at the end. Okay, having said that, we're up first. Cora Watkins, Director of Community Schools Initiative. Hey, Cora Watkins.
Yes, absolutely. So I want to introduce Cora Watkins, who's the director of the community schools. She has been working very closely with Esperanza Martinez and leading this initiative, so I thank her for that. As you know, the community schools are a nationwide strategy to improve student learning. School districts across the nation are increasingly working to address difficult non-academic factors that impact student learning and achievement. Factors such as social, emotional, and environmental barriers our students face. This proven strategy is being implemented in many of our schools, and so I really thank the leadership of the schools in Lucille Roybal Allard and Felicitas and Gonzalo Mendez High School, who will be sharing their programs and their models. So with that said, Cora Watkins, thank you, and go ahead and introduce the team.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having us here. We're excited about the opportunity to share what we've been doing since 2017. And with us today to present that information, we're in a collaborative structure because that, as Board Member Goldberg mentioned, is a really instrumental part of our belief system. So with me is Esperanza Martinez, who is my full-time partner in actually on the ground, going to our 34 schools and working to support particularly our community school coordinators, but also involved with all of the professional development. And Esperanza is my partner that comes to us as a full-time UTLA employee and is actually funded by United Teachers Los Angeles. And Dr. Sylvia Rousseau, who is essentially the godmother of community schools in Los Angeles and probably much broader reach than that. And Dr. Rousseau is one of the original members of our steering committee, our community school steering committee, as well as being a consultant in the area of curriculum and instruction for us as we move forward. And from Lucille Roybal Allard, we have the community school coordinator, Martha Gonzalez, who has, they are part of the cohort 2, which started in our second round, and they are already making tremendous strides in our benchmarks. And with Martha is Principal Reina Schaefer, who has been a longtime advocate doing community schools before becoming a community school. And Miss Emily Grijalva is our community school coordinator at Felicita and Gonzalo Mendez High School. And what is particularly impressive about Emily, amongst many, many other things, is that their school too has been working in a community school way and invited us in as an initiative when the board began this formally. So there's a lot of experience with community partnership and an exceptional model at Mendez. So without further ado, I would like to invite my colleague Esperanza up to speak to you about the background and give you a little bit of the where we've come from and where we're about to go to.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's so nice to be here. It's been quite a while. I'm still getting used to being back in heels. So good afternoon. Hi, Jackie. Great to see you. My name is Esperanza Martinez, and I am the lead community school coach for the Community Schools Initiative. I serve in the capacity of coach and community organizer and supporting our 34 incredible coordinators, and I support them in building the leadership of students, families, and broader community, along with their staff. I am a proud graduate of Aragon Avenue Elementary School, Nightingale Junior High School, and Franklin High School. So I'm super honored to be able to come back also as a parent of 2 students in public schools and support in this capacity. So okay, let's see. It's oh yeah, oh, wonderful. Okay, so what are community schools? It is a model, a framework, a set of strategies that have been recognized by researchers and educational experts as an evidence and research-based comprehensive approach to whole child and whole family wellness. But I also like to say that it's a feeling and it's an experience of how to build community through centering trusting relationships as a way to identify needs and assets, as a way to then build the leadership and capacity of students, staff, families, and community, and a way to leverage assets in the service of student outcomes. And where have we been? So Cora talked about how in 2017, the school board passed a resolution embracing the community school strategies. And I just want to name that Dr. Baez said it's been the community schools model has been around for decades, over 100 years. And I just want to honor the work of organizations like LAEP, Community in Schools, Proyecto Pastoral, who have been doing this work inside of the district. So we're building on that history and that legacy through the Community Schools Initiative. So in 2017, we had the opportunity to, oh, there it is, work with the school board to get this board resolution adopted that then led to a community school implementation team bringing together research, best practices, both in the district and outside of the district that would then serve as our model to build upon. In 2018, we intentionally formed a community school steering committee. And in 2019, the school board, per the recommendation of our steering committee, adopted a set of benchmarks that became a map for community school teams. And 2019, 2020 was the first, was the planning year for the 17 schools inside of cohort 1. And here you see that inside of the structure of community schools, we have our community school steering committee that is co-led by United Teachers Los Angeles and LA Unified. We have Antonio Plasencia and Rosa Jimenez, who are our co-chairs. And in this space, we bring together the National Education Association, representatives from LACO and the Stewart Foundation, and Unite LA is the official convener of our steering committee. And this, we like to center this as a collaborative model that actually has a national attention for the ways in which labor and district folks have come together to center student outcomes and demonstrate that we can come together in this initiative and really support student outcomes through building the leadership of families and educators. So the community schools, both the community schools director and myself are co-leads, and in the steering committee, we play an ex officio membership role, but all the while bringing the best practices from the field to our steering committee so that they're able to make informed decisions around advocacy and expansion. Okay, so the Community Schools Initiative across LA Unified. So you see that in 2019, we launched cohort 1 with 17 schools. And then you'll see that there was a break in that growth. And that was obviously because we entered a global pandemic that impacted our ability to grow, because the priority, even at these 17 schools, became how do we support students accessing learning on site, and how do we provide services and supports for families. And there are schools in cohort 1 that really rose to that occasion because of the structures that they had built as a way to then engage families more deeply, to understand what do you need now and what do you think you're going to need 7 months from now. So in 2021, we launched cohort 2, and that brings together 12 schools. And then most recently, because of the focus that we wanted to place on the Black Student Achievement Plan and bridging the gap, we have 5 schools in cohort 3 that are that currently make up the initiative. So if you look at where we want to go from here on out, we know that there's this unique opportunity that the state is investing over $4 billion in community schools. The State Department of Education has adopted the 4 pillars. They've adopted a lot of the work that we've been, along with other districts across the state, have been building on here. The steering committee that brings partners together, but also really wants to bring in parents onto the decision-making bodies, that brings students onto the decision-making bodies. And so we have this unique opportunity to supplement the investment that our school board has made into this particular model with the state funds. So we are currently in the process of bringing on an additional 34 to 36 schools that could bring us to 70 by next fall. And the last thing that I'll say is that we really center a bottom-up approach to community schools designation. So we want schools to be able to be the ones to say, we have these incredible things happening at our school site. We have these needs. And together as students, as families, as staff and community want to move forward in this process. And in this moment, when many districts are applying for state funds, that gets pushed to the side because it has to happen more quickly. And we're still holding on to that approach so that the school sites feel more invested in that process. So I will stop there, and I look forward to your questions and comments. Thank you.
If people have questions or comments now, say so. Otherwise, I'm going to just ask, let's see, Yvette Corona to introduce yourself. Oh, Denise Harper. Oh, my God. I apologize. I apologize.
No problem. I'm
apologize.
Denise Harper. I'm from Vista Middle School. I'm a special education teacher of 7th and 8th grade history.
Thank you. And I apologize. Excuse
And I
me.
apologize for being late. Traffic was,
I thought
horrendous.
I knew exactly who you were when you walked in, and I was absolutely wrong. Oh, well, it's not the first time I've been absolutely wrong. Okay, thank you for joining us. Are there any questions now, or do you want to hear more of the presentation? Okay, Dr. Bias?
And Cora will continue with describing the 4 pillars.
So all 34 of our schools across the 3 cohorts use the 4 pillars as their guide. As many of you know, the Community School Initiative 4 pillars are that foundation that we believe is the necessary component if we're working to transform schools, as opposed to just be transactional in our schools. The pillars Jackie Goldberg mentioned earlier: integrated student supports, which is extremely important, and especially was so during the pandemic. But we also really want to equally emphasize the academic, family, and community engagement pillar, And the key word there being engagement, not involvement, with a strong belief that we want parents to take and other community members to take a position of making decisions first and foremost for their own children and family members, but then also if their interest is there to participate in the larger school-wide decision-making and be part of the collaborative leadership and practices, as well as engage at the school just for the purpose of their own knowledge, their own personal growth. And we see the school as the hub that can offer the adult the opportunities as well as the students. And also, as was mentioned earlier, the enhanced and expanded learning opportunities. Where LA Unified is a little bit unique is in the fact that we believe that that's inclusive of in core instruction during that tier 1 instruction. It does not matter how many Saturdays and Sundays and summer holidays we have intervention for, if we're not providing culturally relevant and respectful and linguistically relevant and respectful curriculum for our students that engages them and interests them all day long. Then the enrichment and the enhancements can come, and we will work on partners that help us to provide those opportunities. We also have a culture of continuous learning, not just for our students, not just for our teachers, but for all of us, anyone involved with community schools. Our goal is to make sure that we all keep growing and learning together. We are eager to be part of the strategic plan. We embrace the strategic plan and have spent a lot of time in our community school steering committee talking about connectivity and where we can be a significant initiative in advancing the board and the superintendent's goals. We know that with the strategic plan pillars, that we align perfectly. And in that graphic, you see that, that there is the connection automatically there. The 4 pillars, as Esperanza said, are what the state has adopted for community schools, but you can see the connectivity very readily as the extended learning opportunities goes into the first pillar of the academic excellence. Our engagement pillar is strongly about our parent and community engagement, as well as about collaborative leadership. Everything can parallel quite nicely. We are specifically, as an initiative, called out in Pillar 2, joy and wellness. So the intent of community schools is strongly aligned to this pillar and its priorities. And if you look in the strategic plan, that's where you will notice community schools as a strategy. And as was also previously mentioned, we're a whole child, whole community, whole family well-being emphasis. You can't have one without the other. All of them are closely intertwined. And here you see that right out of the strategic plan, the strategy is to leverage community schools and build those partnerships across the district and across feeder patterns of schools. And that is our goal. And what I am excited about doing now is presenting Lucille Roybal Allard as our first community school, our cohort 1 community school, who would like to give you a little bit of information about their journey as a community school.
Good afternoon. I'm super nervous. I've never done this before, so thank you. Thank you for letting us be here. I'm Reina Schaefer, and I am the proud principal, like we're supposed to say that, have to say that, at Lucille Roybal Allard Elementary School. And this is Marta Gonzalez, who is our awesome community school coordinator. She has so many hats, I always forget which one she's wearing. And we're going to talk about our school. This is our 10th year, and we had a big celebration, and Ms. Goldberg was there, and it's been our 10th year. So I've been a principal for 10 years. And I can tell you that in that time, I've had many students in my office for various and sundry reasons. And I just had one recently, and I want to tell you this story because it brings to me the core of what a community school is. It tells me what it is. So this little girl came into my office for, I don't remember what it was. It was serious because she was in my office. And she had makeup on. She's a 5th grader, and she had, gigantic false eyelashes on and acrylic nails, full on makeup. And I'm talking to her and I said, and why are you wearing makeup? This is not, you're 10 years old. There's no reason you should be wearing makeup. You need to be concentrating on work and blah, blah, blah. And I see a big old tear. And then I said, so, just think about that. And so then she leaves. I'm driving home and I'm realizing like, oh my God, what did I just do? And that was community school, me thinking I completely forgot about her humanity. And I didn't think about her and what the makeup meant to her. And I felt so bad. And this just happened about a month ago. If I felt so bad because I thought, I don't know what that makeup meant to her. And then I'm thinking, this little girl, I remembered her mother has had depression. One of her brothers has psychological issues. I think he has pica. Her father, we know, has had addiction problems. And she herself is reading at a 1st grade level, struggling. And I'm like, well, of course, the makeup is something she can control. It's something that makes her feel good. And so I thought, tomorrow I got to talk to her. So I called her in the next morning and she's like, yes. I said, no. I just want to tell you, I want to apologize. I was wrong. I was wrong. I judged something that I should not have judged. And I said, so just do me a favor, just tone it down a little bit, because, it gets distracted, and just tone it down. So I think that without that background and like the humanity, and then she said, okay, Ms. Schaefer, okay. And I saw her today. She had no more fake eyelashes, she had a little bit on. And no nails. She didn't have the nails on. But that is community schools. It's and what you said, so the feeling, it's a feeling. It's not just a set of rules and what we follow and what we do, but it's that feeling that I have to honor that person first, what's inside. And we don't know all that's going on in that little girl's life. So it's a confession, but I just wanted you to know that I don't think that would have happened had I not had all this background with me. So, all the other things I can tell you about my school, you already know. 480 students, blah, blah, you can get all that anywhere, but I want you to feel that. And now it's your turn.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm Martha Gonzalez, the community school coordinator. Very glad to be here. We've always had those beliefs. When we opened the school, when we first wrote the plan to get the school, but we didn't have the tools or the skills. And even though it was in our head, it's like, I was thinking, it was like building a house. We have these beautiful blueprints. This is what we wanted. But how do we build it? What do we need? How do we do it? And so now with these lovely ladies, we've been getting the coaching, mentoring, money, all these wonderful things to help us build that beautiful dream house that we had. So even though our value system, and we always believed in the whole child, but now we're able to really carry it out. And with the guidance of the pillars, and we've spent time aligning them to the strategic plan, even the way we wrote our SPSA was different this year, because it was really looking at all the bits and pieces and the benchmarks and going deeper, looking at root cause analysis, really doing deeper assets and needs assessments, listening to all the stakeholders instead of just the leadership team deciding what the school needed. And the same with the partnerships. It's not just about bringing in any partners, but what does the community really need? Really analyzing that and knowing that. And, we've really had some successes with our attendance. We just had a big campaign and we're really looking at that differently. I don't think our students with chronic attendance issues just want to be out. And a lot of them, they don't have the control with their parents. So us investigating, we invested in a PSA. We just had a big campaign to jump the band. So everybody had an opportunity to move up because we had the percentage at each band, and then we had this big campaign. We all wore our band T-shirts and pushed it. And we had like 83 students move up a band. And so, and now when you see those students coming in late, people would stand at the door, opening the door, hurry up, why are you late again? You know, and now it's like, oh, was there an issue? Can we help you? But welcoming them. You know, you don't want these students who don't have the control, who the parent is dropping them off, coming in like, oh my God, I have to go through that door again and people are going to tell me something. No, it's like, welcome, Samantha. Come on, you know, and you're just welcoming them with a smiling face and you just see them stand upright and I don't have to hide as I walk in. So that's been like just a whole different mindset that we have. And we anticipate future gains, getting our families in. And in our academics, we're excited to get our new data, but it's not just all about that academic data. You know, the end, the way we're judged with the SBA, the ESPA, and all that. There's so much more to this. You know, the whole social justice and equity and all that jargon you hear, it's not just jargon anymore. It's real, you know, and, you know, we were like kids, oh, we got to meet Dr. Rousseau, you know, because we've heard her and seen her and this validating the humanity. It's really, even though our teachers had growth mindset, now, you know, we really pushed that from day one, but they're acting on it. They know what that means and they're changing their actions. And so it's seeing those actions differ. And we're very hopeful for the future and we can't wait to see, you know, the growth. We're barely a cohort 2. This is our second year. So we're cohort 1. I had 1 full year and I'm barely going off. So thank you, ladies. And we're excited about adding the instruction piece that now they have an instructional coach who's been out to our school, who visited classrooms and will help us with those needs. So not only do we get Esperanza and that kind of coaching, but also with instruction. So thank you, and I hope you continue supporting us.
Do you want to ask
Thank
any
you.
questions or make any comments on this one? Okay, go ahead.
Hi, ladies. Congratulations on all of your efforts so far. Just a quick question. You mentioned with the support from the ladies behind you, your team has coaching, mentoring, and the money. I'm curious what the money has, what has that money done? Is it staff? Where is the money coming in and how does it play a role?
It pays for the community school coordinator. We also got a second community rep, which we're very excited. We have 2 6-hour community reps. So that's why I'm really excited about the whole parent thing, because that's incredible. You know, you don't just have somebody in the parent center leading the cutting and volunteers, but we're really working with parents. And a lot of it has gone for training, to train teachers after school, to come to the meetings the ladies offer and that type of thing. And we're being very purposeful and still have some to be designated, but it's definitely paid for 2 positions and a lot of training and release time also for the teachers, right?
Yes.
So
We're able to fund release time for teachers so that they can look at data, plan for growth of the students, academic growth. And then we've also looked at Leader in Me, that program Leader in Me, and that's been a big help for us and to grow our leadership within our students. And now we're starting a cohort or like academy, a parent academy. So we're going to be training our parents in Leader in Me. And we just started Wednesday. I think we had, yesterday, it was yesterday, yes. So so we're starting it. So you know, there's money, and then you have to look what's going to help us, what fits. And the Leader in Me was one of the things that we've always wanted to do that. And so this really helped us with that. And that's making a very big difference, starting from kindergarten. They're talking about, you know, putting first things first and being proactive.
first habit.
Yeah, I heard them. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Other questions or comments? Or you want to hear the next one? Okay.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I forgot to introduce my colleague. This is Miss Emily Grijalva from Mendez High School.
Hello, everyone. As mentioned, I'm Emily Grijalva, proud, I guess we do say that, community school coordinator of Mendez High School. Before that, I was an English teacher, started at Hollenbeck Middle School and then made my way over to Mendez High School, where I then became a restorative justice coordinator, and now I'm the community school coordinator. So for me, this position has been really like a dream job, which involves education, my teaching passion, restorative justice, really looking at students holistically, my background in community organizing. And so I'm really excited that this is happening. Mendez High School, you know, we are very proud to have the namesake of Felicitas and Gonzalo Mendez. We try to uplift all the amazing history and community organizing that happens in Boa Heights, right? So going back to the walkouts, the Mothers of East LA, Father Boyle and Homeboy Industries, right? All of those models of the idea that the community can respond to their needs, right? That communities can come up with their own solutions. And so we really saw community schools as part of that process, right? It's definitely something that we've been really proud to call ourselves a community school. Even a little bit before we were officially designated, you know, we're a relatively new school. And so we knew that this was the opportunity to build something different and to really bring in the community as we made decisions as a school. So some exciting updates of Mendez High School. Well, one, we were cohort 1, right? So the minute that we knew it was going to happen, we submitted our application. We were really excited to be part of the learning process. And then the pandemic happened. But luckily, because we had already been kind of set up as a community school, and at that time, my position, I had been building a lot of those relationships with community partners that we just went into like action mode. We started doing technology distribution way before the district started. We had the community partners, you know, rolling up their sleeves and helping us with food distribution and just really calling students that weren't logging on, right? So we just kind of were able to, you know, all collectively work together to support. And I honestly think that had we not had that in place, we would have struggled as many schools did during the pandemic. Fast forward to now, we are very excitedly opening a wellness center. It opens on Monday. And so it's called Sylvia Mendez Wellness Center. We're going to continue our namesake. And Sylvia Mendez has been, you know, just amazing supporter and always comes out to our school. And so what's really exciting is that, you know, this was years of organizing, again, the community coming together and saying we need access to health, right? We need access to, it's going to have medical, dental, vision, mental health services. It's one of the biggest wellness centers in LUSD. But one of the cool things is where I bring in the community school aspect, right? And the support and funds and extra resources is that we've been trying to figure out how we can bring in some more career technical education opportunities for our students. And so we've decided to go to medical pathway because now students can access the wellness center, they can pursue internships and potentially medical professions. So we're going to be offering a medical terminology Saturday course, second semester. And we're just, you know, really excited that with community schools, you can kind of, you know, experiment and create and collaborate and imagine, okay, I have this piece, how can I connect it to this piece, right? Same with community partnerships. Because I was a teacher, I'm able to be like, oh, I think, you know, so-and-so biology would really like this, you know, or right now we have a financial empowerment literacy course. And so bringing in someone from the community that talks about crypto and starting a business, right? So it's really about moving pieces together and thinking and responding to what are the interests and needs of our students and staff and family. I think, you know, I'm just really excited about our continuous growth. And I did want to go back to Ms. Pink's question, not necessarily about the money, but about the mentorship, right? And so even though Mendes has been a community school, I think from the beginning, it was all in our heart and our head, right? So we all, we believed in it, but there was really there wasn't that many systems in place, right? And when you think about sustainability and being able to go back and refine and reflect, right? Something that I've appreciated about the mentorship is that we've learned a lot about improvement science, right? And so we go back and we look at what are some issues that we want to address, right? Have we assessed? Have we done empathy interviews? Have we done a survey? What are the resources that we have? Did that work? Let's go back. And so I appreciate that kind of scientific way of looking at problem solving. And just lastly, maybe a not so humble brag, but I just started a PhD program, and thank you. And one of the papers that I'm currently working on is talking about how community schools are really set up to support newcomers, especially the new wave of migrant children. And so I've been looking at, just even at Mendes, how we were able to tap into some of our community partners so that when newly arrived immigrant children that are coming almost, weekly, right? We're seeing a huge surge, especially from Central America, that we already have the process, the system, the people that greets them and make sure that they succeed, right? And ties them to resources and whatnot. And so, I am a firm believer that community schools really set up to support students, especially our most vulnerable students like newcomers, LGBTQ students, our Black students, right? And making sure that they have the tools to succeed. Yeah, thank you.
All right, questions or comments to either of these school presenters?
I just
Go
want to
ahead.
say thank you so much. And I was really intrigued by what you said about the newcomers, because I was thinking it the whole time. I was like, this is so culturally relevant to people who are, Indigenous, Latino, and Black. For the most part, a lot of the culture is more family-based, more community, more working together. And I think this model really speaks to the heart of their culture. So I just really like when you said that. It was really good. Thank you.
Anybody else? Go ahead, Ms. Pink.
I also just listening to your stories and how you've connected back to the human. And it's really inspiring. As I sat in a meeting this morning for our ELAC, and we're talking about attendance, but didn't put it on the lens as you were speaking of attendance and welcoming our children because it's not their fault why they're not at school, and just kind of coming back with a different perspective when we're thinking through strategies of how we can help support parents and students. So thank you for that.
I saw this, I was told this story about how in some communities, when a student is absent or comes in late, instead of scolding them, that the educator responds, "We are complete now." And so I think that that's, kind of the mind shift of community schools, is that we need everyone, students, parents, teachers. And so when somebody's missing, and there's also a restorative aspect of it, our community is not whole. And so we're trying to make sure that, everyone's included.
I want to know what an empathy interview is.
Essentially, right, it's taking the time to gather folks that you need, want to hear their opinions about a certain issue, situation, and just kind of sitting down together and figuring out, how do you feel? What's happening in our school? And we've been pushed to do empathy interviews with parents, students. It's kind of like a focus group, but a little bit more with heart.
One of the things for me that I've been seeing at the community schools that I've visited that impresses me the most is the problem solving part of it. Everybody talks about the bringing services onto campus, but you can do that without a community school. But the part that impresses me is that the school decides, for example, on absences, like they talked about earlier from Roybal Allard, make a decision, try it, and if it works, yay. And if it doesn't, say, we're not giving up, let's try something else. This is not something we normally do in schools. We try it and we say, well, we tried it once, it didn't work, and that's it. And we walk away and we say it doesn't work. This problem solving part, to me, will revolutionize education at each and every school, because they'll make the decision based on what is there, not some theoretical idea, but who the teachers are, who the parents are, who the students are, what the neighborhood's like. And decision-making like that changes schools. It really does. Parents feel much more comfortable there because they're involved in the decision-making and not in a come after we've made up our mind and vote on it, but come before we've talked about it. Tell us what you think we ought to be talking about. That's different. That's really different. Anyway, I'm impressed in what I'm seeing, and particularly I'm impressed because they've only been at it a year or two. But I do think the part about changing how you thinking is really critical to all of this, and I appreciate you for pointing that out to us as part of this. So let's hear who's next. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Remember, these people have already worked all day at their schools, and they're still here helping us. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, Cora, I think that now at this point, are we going to introduce our my guest?
Actually, just wanted to let you all know that there has been a formal evaluation, and we looked at implementation, student outcomes, and recommendations. It is in the final stages of review with the evaluators and the researchers. So we hope very soon, and you will be our first audience that will receive that information. One of the things that's important to us is that we're looking at both the outcomes and the implementation, that we're seeing how the two connect. And that goes back to Board Member Goldberg's comment around making sure that we know that what we're doing works and we're going to continue it, or it's not working and we're going to change it. So really looking at the fidelity of that implementation. And the way to get to the student outcomes, in addition to the fidelity of the 4-pillar implementation, is that we have to have that great instruction. So to describe the great instruction and the attention to detail in our pedagogy, Dr. Rousseau will share that information.
Remarkable, Dr. Rousseau, I have to
Sorry,
say.
the
Remarkable, Dr. Rousseau.
Good afternoon. I'm old and I'm still here. All right. Okay, and I'm.
That's what I say every morning.
That's right. But I just wanted to say it before I talk about the instruction, just briefly. I became committed to community schools because of my deep concern for the students who continue to be disenfranchised. And they are very often in Black and brown communities. And we need quality schools in those communities. And the communities themselves are part of the answers. Community schools is about reclaiming our humanity. That's our big theme, reclaiming our humanity. And we cannot humanize these schools without the cooperation, the collaboration, and the engagement of the community and parents. So that's the foundation of our work. But having said all that and all the good things about that, we also know we needed systems and structures to sustain this work, that it's not just another program that comes along, but that we're systemically working with schools and structuring schools and helping parents to grow in their knowledge and participation. But after having said all of that, it still comes down to the classroom. We still have to be concerned about how our students are teaching and learning. And the humanizing pillars have to land in school, in the classroom, who our students are. So we were looking at some of the data. I love looking at it just to say, what can I figure out here? Francis knows that. And so when I started looking at it, I started looking reports from our standardized testing. And there's a category called English only. And I start comparing the scores of students in English only with the scores of Black students and Latino students. And what I found, they're very closely matched. And so what I began to say is language seems to be a key factor in improving access to education. We know that language is the most powerful psychological tool we have. It's what students bring and present to us in our classrooms every day. They have culture and language, and they present it to us as capital for us to build on and to teach and for them to learn. And that's the way we've tried to structure our instructional program, humanizing instruction. 2 human attributes that every child has are language and culture. And yet, that language and culture, if it differs from mainstream culture and language, is not welcomed in the classrooms. So then we've cut off the major means by which students can access curriculum. So when we ask them to read complex text, when we ask them to write, if their language is not acknowledged and used as a foundation for more teaching, they have limited access to the curriculum and learning. So we've built our instructional process on that and on humanizing the classrooms, so that we know many Black students, they're not flawed. They have an English vocabulary, but they're still speaking it with syntax and structures that are ancestral. And because of segregation, they become calcified. So they're bringing this language. So we have to find ways through academic discourse to invite them in with the language that they have. I'm not clicking, I'm talking. Okay, with the language we have. And our job is to scaffold them into academic English without giving up their first language. And this is what we mean when we say collaboration. And learning is a social endeavor, and that we want students engaged. I was an interim superintendent of a district, and the people came in when I was there and said, the thing we observe in this district is the students are not engaged. Well, how do they engage except through language and the culture that they bring? So that's the premise for what we're doing in our classrooms. So the model, I've got to click this. Oh, we're wait. Okay, I already said that. Okay. So there are many students whose home language may not be Spanish, but it is a form of English with Spanish roots, but they were never identified as English learners. So they're not getting support. And there are many Black students who speak Ebonics and they're not getting support. But these are languages. The American Linguistic Society says these are legitimate rule-based languages. And so when students encounter, they have an English vocabulary, but when they encounter a text, it's just like a scramble of English words. They're fluent. We test for fluency all the time, but they don't see the complex thought and connecting through the language, grammar, and syntax. So we're asking for every classroom to be a place where students' academic English is fostered by building on their first language. And so you'll see that graphic up there. I believe in academic discourse. There's talking going on in classrooms all the time, we know that. But if we can be more intentional by embracing students and we have to really emphasize speaking and listening standards and skills, because that's where language builds. That's where complexity of thought is built. That's where students feel they're included. That's where our board member Goldberg just talked, students learn from each other. So if we can have that discourse, learning is a social endeavor. And we are calling for discourse. We give quizzes and tests all the time, but students are demonstrating to us what they know all the time in academic discourse. And so it's just a powerful way of bringing students together. And it's a way of saying to them, you are included as you are, and you will take this journey with us to become all that you can be. But we embrace you as you are, and we value you. And that's why communities are so valuable. They have assets. One of the reasons I'm involved in community schools is that we've often seen communities that are predominantly Latino or Black or African-American as filled with deficits. Community schools says, no, there are assets in this community, cultural, linguists, ways of knowing, ways of being that we want to embrace in the classroom. And that's where students, and when we talk about emotional and mental and support for students, when they feel included, when they can bring what they have as an asset to that classroom to learn, when their parents are valued, when the community is seen to have assets. It's not a cure. I'm not trying to say that, but students are much more likely to feel healed or healthy emotionally and mentally and socially. So that's why that graph is there. So academic discourse embraces a lot of things, culturally and linguistically responsive pedagogy. As we keep working with ourselves and with teachers and many other people, we are learning ways to build upon prior knowledge, prior language, and make that a place where students can launch into deeper knowledge and more knowledge. And it also talks about, it all embraces growth mindset so that students aren't always just getting a paper with red marks or check marks to say how you are, but they get a chance to, in academic discourse, to talk about maybe some of their misconceptions, to embrace their innovation and their creativity, and they can correct their errors without shame, without embarrassment, that it's growth. Oh, I see why I didn't get that done, right? Oh, and so there's encouragement from their peers and from the teachers. Academic discourse also embraces interdisciplinary learning. And Goldberg, that's where this, not just problem solving in general, but when students work together across curriculum on projects and project-based and problem-based, they're in discourse. They are thinking in complex ways that we ask them to do when they read a text. But if they never hear it, they never see it, they're never immersed in it, we can't expect them to suddenly produce proficiency on test scores. And so it embraces that interdisciplinary learning, and it also embraces, through discourse, we are scaffolding students into habits of mind, of higher order thinking. They hear it, they work with it, they do work together with it, they are immersed. And so that's the framework. This isn't about 6 different programs. This is about a way of being with students that honors their humanity and the humanity. And in that culture of schooling, that's the new culture of schooling. It's not one that excludes, it's one that embraces and builds upon and sees assets as well as deficiencies. So I think I've pretty much summed that up. Thank you.
Questions or comments?
I do, Dr.
Go
So
ahead.
thank you so much for being here. You are one of my role models. And as a principal, I've always looked up to you and really have admired the work that you do. And today, as you're presenting the Reclaiming Humanity, and you've created a frame for the way to do community schools with language and culture being at the center. So my question for anyone who's viewing and just to learn more, what is your role in the work that happens with community schools?
Well, I've been with this for 4 years from the inception and movement. One of my roles was to think about structures that sustain this work. One of my roles, I get very teased by this thing called the logic model, but it's a way, and as Cora just said, that a way of continuous improvement. So we hold ourselves responsible for short-term, midterm, and long-term outcomes so that we can correct in the middle of it. We can look at it, we don't abandon it, we just do it better. We identify what we're not doing well and make it work. So that's been part of my contribution. The other is just this deep belief in some of my scholarship, but experience most of all. where all children can learn is a phrase that we put in books and send off for grants. But how do you implement the belief that all students can learn? So I've brought this humanizing element, working with the steering committee, Esperanza's been on it, many people on it, just to say, we're not a new program. We're trying to see schools positioned differently in communities, not as outposts. So how do we, these community coordinators, I do professional development with the team. They've been gracious. I've been able to do that. You know, I love to do that. But so that's, and kind of a coach just to this mentor. Yes.
So do you work directly with the coordinators or just with the steering committee?
I work with the steering committee, the director, and the our coach for community coordinators. And I do a lot of writing and a lot of conceptualizing with the work so that we remain true to these core values. But everyone I've worked with is committed to this work. It's been a joy to work with Cora, with Esperanza, with some of them have come to our trainings and our professional development. And I think they think it's okay. And
They're nodding their heads behind you. They're going,
Okay.
Great.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
I'm glad you're providing that professional development to everybody. I was making the connection to what you're stating and then also hearing it from the principal of the school. So there is an impact. You are making an impact at the schools. If they're speaking about humanizing schools, then that means that everything you're speaking about here that may sound like a theory or a concept is actually in practice at school. So thank you very much, Dr. Russo.
And I've worked with like-minded people, so it's been a joy. Thank you.
I have a question.
Oh, yes.
Sounds like you think that community schools is not a strategy, but the strategy for improving student outcomes. Why is that?
Well, we have to give it a label, so we call it community schools. But I think the strategy is that we see schools differently in relation to the communities they serve. That so these are, I guess they're strategy, but it's a way of being, and that we recognize the humanity and the assets that are all around us that we've grown accustomed to seeing as deficits. So we in having all this intervention, all of this remediation, because it's a mindset about who these students are and who their families and communities are. So I call it a movement. A movement of seeing our humanity and appreciating the humanity of those we serve and knowing we can't do this work alone. We really have to adopt these models of collaboration, inclusion, make it work, but build systems that allow it to work.
Thank you so much. Oh, I didn't see your hand. Go ahead. Didn't see you.
I gotta say, it does feel like the system. You know what I'm saying? But we often say, oh, there's no one solution, but this feels pretty close. And I do think about teacher recruitment and teacher retention and educators, because we're losing people. You know, it's, oh, is it salaries? It's engagement and respect and humanity, right? And saying we want it to come from you. So here's the question in my mind, right? About money and mentorship, right? And this idea of systems. So how exciting. Did I understand right that you're looking to add another 34? That's so great. And so I guess the question is, how do we help and how do you scale up in this very interesting look of you want to expand, but in that organic and authentic way? So it is driven by the families and students and teachers.
But one of the things the board did was hire us a director. Somebody's got to be the traffic person and coordinate these things. And we are looking at ways that we can connect with existing units within the district, but in a more coherent way, more focused way. And particularly in the Office of Instruction, there are many things in place already, but it has lacked coordination and a central core belief and so the systems and structures we're building are collaborative, but they're focused and they are driven by this core belief that we have in our common humanity.
I think there's also talk about looking at feeder schools, right? So imagine a child that attends community school, elementary, middle school, and high school, and that's all they know, right? Because sometimes, you know, students have very different experiences based on which kind of schools they're going to. So it would be awesome to have that feeder pattern.
And if I can add something, we are looking to train not just community school coordinators, right, who are the systems manager at a school site that works closely with administration and their leadership team. We're training community reps in, well, first of all, we're bringing them all together across 34 schools and having them build community and relationships with one another. We're teaching them how to do these empathy interviews, like how to move through a conversation, how to build presence. I, as a coach and a community organizer, really believe that if we are going to change entire systems in the service of student outcomes and family and student joy and wellness, then the people inside of those systems need to be transformed as well, right? We're products of this society. And so that's just really important to the work, because we're not just working with the teachers or with the coordinators. We're trying to figure out how do we work with groups of people inside of the school systems so that we're looking at where is it working well, where is it not working well, and then how do we as a broader community collaborate to change the things that are not working well. So, you know, we're trying to create a coaching curriculum to onboard community school coaches so that we have more people supporting at the school site level. The mapping that Sylvia just described, that Cora's spearheading, to understand, like, we're a resource rich district. Where do we pull from so that we're not, because the idea is not that we're paying for all of the partnerships, right? A community school builds partnerships that become sustainable over time through some of those community assets. So I just wanted to add that part because as a UTLA staff person, that's not the only place where we're working, right? We know that we need all of us to create a whole. So thank you.
Yes, okay, right.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Laura, I think you're up.
We have gotten to the point in our initiative where we are creating outcomes that will look at the humanity and the whole child. We are looking at creating parallel outcomes that will match with what is in our strategic plan. So our graduates will become critical thinkers. They will be literate. They will have a strong sense of self and identity and be equity minded. So a social justice frame is what is above all of our thinking, and the social justice lens is how we believe with all of our hearts that we are going to get to that high academic achievement component. So in terms of, just as one example of what we mean by our students at graduation being these critical thinkers, that they will be able to apply mathematical and scientific knowledge and ways of thinking to enhance their lives and the lives of others. As an example, in what we talk about for community school graduate outcomes in terms of being literate, we are asking and expecting our students to demonstrate an openness to respecting and acquiring multiple languages. In terms of having a strong sense of identity, one of our example outcomes is that our students are creators, problem solvers, and contributors in their communities and beyond. And in terms of equity, an outcome for all of our graduates is that they recognize traits of the dominant culture, the home culture, and every other culture to understand how to negotiate their own identities within multiple spaces and to see themselves as equal to other human beings, not inferior, not superior, but equal. So those go with our social justice framework. And leading up to our student graduate outcomes, we have our student goals that will lead us there. Let's see if it changes.
Only if the clicker works. Huh.
There we go. So this is a sample of what you will see when our road, we're calling it our roadmap that leads us towards our success with the strategic plan. But in terms of being ready for the world, we are saying that we expect 75% of our kindergarten and first, as well as our 5th, 6th, and 8th grade students who are participating in dual language programs to earn the Promise to Bilingualism Award, and which is at the younger grades, and then at 5th or 6th grade, depending on the matriculation time, that those 75% of the students engaged would receive the Pathway to Biliteracy Award. And at least 50% of seniors would receive that official California seal of biliteracy. We also expect to increase the English learner reclassification rates to 35%, which is slightly above what our strategic plan calls for. But we believe, as Dr. Rousseau pointed out, we've got to get to an acceleration point for students who have always had this gap. If they move in little tiny increments, we will never be able to close the equity and achievement gap. One example of our college ready outcome or goal for our students is that the percentage of high school students enrolled in AP courses will increase to 35% with proportional representation of Black and Latino students. So as someone else mentioned earlier, it's not just about our SBAC results. We want to see that our kids are having opportunities for advanced placement. And as Emily mentioned, for career technical education, those CTE pathways. And our community schools grant is paying for a CTE teacher to work with kids at Mendez as well as at Polytechnic to put them on the path to a career they're interested in and that is responsive to what the students desire. That's going to help our kids stay engaged and be college ready. And it also feeds into being career ready. So along with the strategic plan goal about career and technical education sequences increasing, we are making a heavier push within community schools and working very strategically with both DACE, our Division of Adult and Career Education, as well as our linked learning office, and making sure that if a school has one CTE class, that we are going to push that to become a pathway, meaning 2 courses. And if they already have that in place, then working to create a linked learning pathway, which means that not only would they have the sequence of 3 CTE classes that are related in one focus theme area, but that they would also have a core instruction, their English teacher, their math teacher, there'd be at least one of their core teachers that would be providing instruction that had some connectivity to that career theme. So we're really excited about the work we're doing to combine efforts with other divisions and departments. And all of this, of course, leads to the strategic plans. Pillar 1, academic excellence. We're going to provide rigorous and responsive academic programs so that we can make sure that all of our students achieve. And if we are holding our students all responsible, then there obviously has to be responsibility on the part of the initiative itself. So as community schools, we are setting some goals for ourselves. All community schools will have created an opportunity and created a minimum of 2 active community-based enriched and/or extended learning opportunities for students. And the idea with that is that it will be a partner-based, and it may be paid, it may be a no-fee service. Our second goal is that we will provide culturally and linguistically responsive and respectful teaching and learning, and that is evident in at least 75% of our classrooms. Our third goal is to reduce the students needing Tier 2 and Tier 3 intervention by at least 15%. And finally, that 80% of our teachers will be certified in equitable grading and instruction. And again, this ties back to our belief in social justice. We have to recognize the humanity of our students, our staff, our parents, our families, and all of it has to come together so that we can reach those graduate outcomes. And
I have 2 quick questions.
go for it.
Currently, how many district employees do we have that support these 34 schools?
At this exact moment in time, you have me. However, that is only because our instructional coach this week took a position as an assistant principal. So we are rehiring for that position. We also are flying or posting 3 additional certificated positions that are going to be phenomenal. One is a data coordinator, because we want to be able to provide our schools with timely, accurate data that helps them see where they are with regards to these goals and outcomes. And then we will have a high school, middle school specialist, and then we'll have an elementary specialist so that we can dive even deeper into the curriculum and instruction focus
So when you're
this
fully
year.
staffed, it'll be 5?
At this point, yes. And then determining what needs come next. At this moment, we are using contracts with consultants because of their level of expertise in the community schools ecosystem. So we have coaches supporting us while we build our infrastructure. Next year, we expect to have 6 or 7 homegrown LA Unified individuals serving as coaches for our coordinators and our schools. So we should grow at that point, and it will be dependent upon how many schools join in. Yesterday, we had our first cut point, for lack of a better term, for schools that are interested in becoming cohort 4, and we have 20
That was my second
schools.
question.
Okay.
My
We'll
sec-
ask it.
Has the application period closed already?
No,
Okay,
no.
because a lot of people have said to me, well, we already do services at our school. Why should I become a community school? So what's the difference between a school that's doing a lot of services and they're helping their kids get services and their families that they need, and a community school? And then if they see that difference, how do they apply?
All right, so the short answer is look at Emily Grijalva and Martha Gonzalez. The difference is that there is a full-time community school coordinator to help empower the school and to lead the work and to build up the structures and systems. All of our schools are doing things that relate to community schools, but most of the time they're transactional because they don't have systems in place to sustain them. So if this great teacher leaves, or that great administrator leaves, or that great parent leader leaves, so does the good. And they start over again. The idea here is that we're building up systems and structures that outlast any of us in the room, and that we make sure that we've got a way to continue to do things that make significant differences for the long term, not just taking on. It's great that we have a food bank, but is that food bank leading to better attendance or better attention in school or things like that? So having systems and structures help us be transformational, which is what the benefit of being a community school is. And the way to apply is to contact Esperanza or I, give us the letter of intent, which we have been circulating, and we'll also provide it to your office so that you can share it. And we will have 2 pre-boarding sessions starting Thursday, December the 8th. And we ask schools to send a team. We want to make sure that there's collaboration and engagement of all stakeholders from the get-go before they even do the actual application.
Well, Cora, we have a weekly instructional newsletter that goes out every Friday, so I'm sure that it's already been in there, right?
Yes.
It's been in there every week, so now we're going to continue to send that information out. So thank you.
It's been, yes, the last 2 weeks. Thank you.
I was just going to add a couple of other things too. I think that many principals and teachers do want to connect with communities, but with the load and responsibilities they have, they can't do it. And so the community coordinator becomes that person that connects the school and brings parents into the school in a way that is helpful. And secondly, I would say our emphasis on reclaiming our humanity. We're doing a lot of work and a lot of professional development so that all voices are heard in a different way, that we're creating a new culture of schooling, not just services.
So much. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Go ahead.
Thank you all very much. I'm inspired. My head is spinning, to be honest. I don't know how you're doing your job every day, because just taking in all the information that you've shared and to actually apply that, my head hurts. So, hats off to you, because it's a lot of work to make that actually execute. So I wanted to understand a little bit more, and perhaps Ms. Schaefer, you could provide some insight, or Ms. Gravala, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. My apologies. What in the practical application of what Dr. Rousseau was speaking of, in classrooms, how does that actually execute? Because it's impressive, but I just think of our teachers at my school who it's just them in the classroom and they're quite overwhelmed as it is. So how can they elevate to be able to connect with the humanity and not to be so overwhelmed with what's happening as well? And do you have more support in the classroom than just one teacher, et cetera?
Well, it's a team. We have our instructional leadership team, and then the teachers are part of that as well. And so during professional development, we talk about what it means to have humanity in the classroom. So we talk about it. The Leader in Me also is part of that, the Leader in Me program, that we really talk about taking ownership of your life and what that means. But it's a mentality, it's a feeling. And our school, we've always been community centered and have that feeling. But this just focused it more. And we daily reminder that you have a child in front of you who is not a student, it's a person. And it's a child that comes with all these things with them. And then just the structure within the school, when we have SSPTs, when we meet with teachers and parents, the approach of it is very different. Our approach is not how are we going to solve you? How are we going to solve this problem? We're looking at what is happening in your life. What can we do to help you with that? So it's very different. The approach is very different. And then within the classroom, it's just, having a classroom that has a positive vibe to it, that there's you're celebrating a child. One thing that we did do this year is that, I don't know if you know this, but especially in elementary schools, you walk into a classroom and there's a chart that has a happy face, then a medium face, and then the thing is, depending on how you're behaving, that's where your name is on the clip. Well, last year I walked in, I thought, I'm sorry to keep repeating this, but this is embarrassing. If I were that kid, I would say, well, gosh, I might as well already be all day long, be bad. I'm already in the sad face. So what's the point? And so we talked about it, and then we said, no, we banned those. So we do not have those charts at our school, because we knew that was hurting kids. It was embarrassing. It was demeaning. And there's other ways of improving behavior. And so that's just one thing that I think, and I'm actually really proud of that because I visited a school today, as a matter of fact, and I saw those charts in the classroom. And when I saw it, it just really kind of, I didn't like it. So I hope that kind of answers your question.
It
Yeah.
does, thank you.
And I just wanted to go ahead and add to your question is that, and having been in the classroom myself, so I know that we wear multiple hats, right? We're the nurse, we're like the social worker, we're all of that. And so having a community school coordinator kind of alleviates actually that. Because I have so many teachers who are like, the students like, depressed, anxious, or I heard this student lost someone over the weekend, and do you have a resource? And I'm like, why, yes, I do. I have all these resources, right? But then also I try to do preventative work too, because a lot of times maybe students are not aware, or teachers. So I'm always like, let me take over your class, and I'll do like a whole lesson on stress, anxiety, and then these are the resources we have. And a lot of it is just, again, inviting. Part of the whole surveys and assets, right, is getting the teachers are stakeholders too. So I get to ask them, what can we do to make you like joyful, right? To make you be able to focus on teaching, and whatever areas that I can support, that is included in my job, right? And so whether it's a restorative justice refresher that we're gonna offer next week, a restorative justice training, whether it's, donuts, coffee, and just come and hang out in my office and let's just like talk about, what you did this weekend, or alleviating some of the everyday stressors by providing systems in place, our teachers definitely feel more supported and can focus on instruction.
Thank you.
I agree with Ms. Pink. This is such an amazing presentation, and I'm really, it makes me very hopeful for the future of our school district, and the services that you guys provide are phenomenal for the students. I just had one question input. I remember when I taught many years ago, we used the AMP program. Do you guys incorporate that into goal 2? Yeah, okay. I just, okay, so I just wanted to check. I really liked it.
Checking up on him a little. I hear you. Go ahead.
I've thoroughly enjoyed everything that you've had to say, and inspiring to me as a teacher, because I work with disenfranchised students, students in not just special education needs, but also coming from a lot of newcomers and children of poverty. And they have no control over that. And bringing humanity back to them and getting the opportunity to expose them to things that they don't have the luxury of being exposed to, that so many people just assume, helps them become more competitive in the world too, when they're out there and out of our school and not as protected as we can keep them. So thank you.
So we've done in the past Autism Awareness Month or week, and we would do all kinds of activities so our team, this is our team, our teachers got together and they said, that's, we don't want that. It has to be Neurodiversity Week. And so last year, that's how we celebrated. And it was amazing. You take it from this, why do we have to accept it? And so it was like, we're all different and we all have different brains and we all think differently, but we're all the same basically. And we all deserve what you said, respect and, all that. So that was really, really fun. That was, yeah. And I remember when they came up with it, we're like, why didn't we think of this before? But it was the team themselves that came up with that.
Go right ahead, Dr. Russo. Always want to hear what you want to add.
Thank you. I would just add that we are moving really intentionally from a deficit view of who
Yeah,
our students are
That's it.
to an asset. And for
That's
even those parents who are not, maybe don't know what to do, part of it is offering opportunities for them to learn to be more effective with their children and to partner with teachers and to be a part of the decision making. So that's why the community is so important. Good schools create good communities, and good communities create good schools. It's a package, yes.
Go ahead.
I really appreciate that final comment you just made, because that's what really stood out with our very first presenter. It's about asset-based thinking. And And really, I heard you say that you draw from the talents and the problem solving within the community, that the solutions live within the community. And that's really exciting. But you also mentioned in thinking, as an AI in the cohort that's coming up, you talked about feeder patterns. So as schools apply, schools, for instance, that have, or maybe a middle school or a high school that have an elementary school that's already a community school, will they have priority in the application process? Is it very competitive? Do you have many more applications than you have spots? How does that work?
Right now, we want, if we gain more people than we technically have spots for, which is 36 because of the board resolution 31 passed in the 2021 school year, we will have a 4B cohort. But the way that schools are selected is based on a variety of factors, which our steering committee has struggled with and had much debate about over time. And it's important for us to look at schools in terms of their need, also in terms of their readiness and enthusiasm. So we do look at standard measures in terms of things like the SENI, the Student Equity Needs Index scores. We look at their participation in the Black Student Achievement Program. We look at their Title I ranking, as well as, I know I'm forgetting one, but there's another one in there. And looking at those factors to help us determine need. We also are looking at connectedness this year, which means you get points if you're in a feeder pattern that already exists. But in terms of, are you ready? Maybe it's not their fault that other people didn't apply before them. So we don't want to penalize anyone. So a new facet of it this year is, what connections do you have formally or informally with others? It may be YMCA, it may be charter schools, it may be anybody, and it may be your elementary, your middle, and your high school and your feeder pattern. What connections do you already have? Tell us something about something you already do. And then they will receive points for that effort towards connectedness as well. And then there will be also kind of an open-ended essay type question where they will tell us about what they are already doing around the 4 pillars. So that readiness will count tremendously towards their determination.
All right, thank you very much, because we got 15 people waiting to be heard. So unless there's a pressing need for an additional question or comment, I'm going to say thank you so very, very much. Thank you so very.
Proud to have been associated with Frances, Dr. Baez. She was a principal in the district where I was superintendent, and an outstanding principal.
And let me just say that that notion of moving from deficit to asset is probably the most critical, in my personal opinion, piece. Because when I was a teacher at UCLA teacher education program, we had all of our students who were in schools do an asset of their district, around their school. And every last one of them, regardless of where they grew up or who they were shocked at how many assets there were in the communities and the schools they were in. Every single one of them, it didn't matter. I mean, we all were, I mean, we found a church in one of the neighborhoods that had an orchestra that nobody knew about at the school, and now had kids going from that school to participate in that orchestra. And that orchestra is now on that campus at times. Okay, I mean, it's just amazing what this can do, as it makes people rethink things that we've always done. I mean, I remember, I've been in education a long time, and I remember that there were always 3 answers to everything. We've never done it that way. We've always done it that way. Or we tried it once and it didn't work. And that was it. And this is a whole way of thinking that says none of that makes any sense at all. You start with the kids and humanity and you build from there. And my God, it changes everything. Go
And
ahead.
Board Member Goldberg, I have to leave to go to another meeting, but I want to share how we're systematizing the assets part with parents. So each school is encouraged to do a deep asset and needs assessment with students, staff, families, and community. We ask parents, what do you love about our school? What are your hopes and dreams about your school? And what are you excited to contribute? You as a parent, you as a guardian, you as a foster parent, caregiver. Miramonte Elementary School, that question came back blank because parents are not encouraged to see the fact that they're a homemaker, that they're a landscaper, a jardinero, tamalera. They're not told that those are assets that they can bring to a school site. But let me tell you, we are flipping that. We are changing that because there is space for that inside of a community school. And who better than us inside of this space to tell families you matter, what you do matters, and bring it here. It will be seen as a skill and a strength and an asset. So I have to go, but I just wanted to share that because I'm good.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. One of my favorite stories when I first looking into it is there is a school, a community school someplace in Massachusetts where the city council sends the school questions that they're trying to solve answers to. And the school works on them all year and sends the answers to the council and then goes to the council meeting where they're considered. Unbelievable, unbelievable. Never heard anything like that before. All right. Now we're going to hear from the public. Thank you all very much. And thank you all very much.
Good evening, all. We are going to move on to the public comment portion of the meeting. Let's start with Mr. David Tokovsky. Are you on the line? David Tokovsky. Okay, I'm not seeing you on the line, Mr. Tokovsky. So let's go to Mr. Jackie W. Walker or Jackie Walker. Are you on the line? If you are, press *6 to unmute yourself and you'll have 3 minutes to speak once you begin. Jackie Walker.
Good evening. My name is Jacqueline Walker, and I am the Community School Coordinator at Baldwin Hills Elementary Pilot and Gifted Magnet School. We are proud to be one of the few gifted magnet elementary schools in LAUSD that serves a predominantly Black student population. We have deep ties and relationships within this community. We are a pilot school. We are a California distinguished school. I am speaking today to call your attention to the issue of the co-location at Baldwin, which does not allow us to fulfill our promise as a community school and ultimately undermines our work as a community school. Baldwin is proud to be in cohort 2, our second year in the Community School Initiative. We were recently recognized by Dr. Tyrone Howard and his team of researchers at UCLA Center for the Transformation of Schools as a bright spot in cultivating excellence in Black youth in Los Angeles. This UCLA research provides evidence that Baldwin's commitment to culturally responsive and sustaining pedagogy, our commitment to social emotional learning, and our commitment to fostering a community school environment is crucial to the success of Black students. However, the programs we offer our students are being hindered by the co-location at every turn. One example is our Healthy Start Navigator needing a private space to have confidential conversations with families, fresh food storage, and a host of many opportunities for our students. Baldwin did not have the needed space, so our Healthy Start personnel was relocated to a school which offered the space needed. We only benefit from these services once or twice a week. This is only one example of the effects of being co-located. As a community school, we need our own space to grow and sustain our programs that provide services, enrichment, and extending learning opportunities to our students. The effects of being a co-located campus is a clear injustice to our students and families. But more importantly, our students are being unfairly denied access to educational enriching experiences that are offered by other community schools within LAUSD. I respectfully request to look closely at the achievements of Baldwin Hills, how we strive for excellence and empowerment of our students within the Community School Initiative. We need support in the removal of new LA charter schools so that our critical work at Baldwin may continue. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Okay, let's see. Dr. Irving, are you on the line? Dr. Irving, if you're on the line, press *6 to unmute yourself, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak once you begin.
Can you hear me?
We sure can. Yes. You- I can hear the Zoom in the background, so you might want to cut that.
I just turned it off. Do you still hear it? Hold on. How's that?
That's great. Let's start your 3 minutes, and you're all set. Thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Amber Marie Irving, and I am a proud parent of a second grader at Baldwin Hills Pilot Elementary and Gifted High Ability Magnet. Two of my older children attended Baldwin and were in our Gifted Magnet. My 19-year-old daughter, who's now a successful junior studying computer science at UC Irvine, and my son, who's a successful seventh grader at Palms Gifted Magnet. Baldwin is now the victim of a co-located charter, eating away at our school. So what's the difference about our school? Baldwin Hills is a majority Black school, being treated differently than our white counterparts. As a parent who experienced the school both pre and post-charter encroachment, the differences are startling. The same year we were approved to be a pilot school with innovative, culturally responsive education, specializing in education and educating children of color and allowing them to learn about African American culture, as well as from a multicultural perspective, the district approved a charter to encroach on our campus. They started with giving them 3 classrooms, and now they have 8. They took our computer lab, they took our music room, they took our art room, they took the rooms of all 3 of our after-school programs, and we are now down to 1. And they have no dedicated space. Robotics, engineering, yoga, chess, these are all enrichment activities that we've provided, and they are now unhoused. As Ms. Jackie Walker said, we are a 2021 California Distinguished School whose numbers and performances are off the charts. LAUSD, to avoid lawsuits by charters, go above and beyond to make them comfortable. But what about us? We are literally the only gifted magnet in all of LAUSD co-located with a charter, the only one. What's the difference in our school again? Our students are majority Black and brown, students of color. The LAUSD uses Prop 39 to cannibalize its own schools, selling to the highest bidder or loudest yeller. How can the LAUSD profess to want us to feel treated fairly? If it was a majority Caucasian school, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. Could you imagine a charter being allowed to take the computer lab of a majority white gifted magnet? We're also an official community school. You just had an extensive presentation on community schools, so you've learned of their valued contribution to our schools and communities. You as a board can choose not to renew New LA's charter simply because of the fact that we are a community school. Do you know where Miss Jackie Walker, who just spoke, our community school coordinator, is officed? She's in our parent center because we have no office or classroom for her. How can she offer the true promise of community schools to our children? How can she distribute clothes and food to our homeless and less fortunate students? How can she effectively do her job? She's effectively been crippled. How is that fair? Forced co-location and taking valuable rooms and enrichment activities is discrimination. LAUSD is discriminating against our children. Separate is not equal. Forced co-location and taking computer labs, classrooms, and enrichment activities from Black and brown students and community schools that support them is discrimination, no matter how you slice it. I ask you and the board and Superintendent Carvalho to act now.
Please remove this co-located charter from our campus. Change the board's implementation of Prop 39. The effects of the co-location.
Thank you for your time,
amount
Ms.
to-
Irving. Dr. Irving, thank you so much. Okay, is Stephanie Ford on the line? Stephanie Ford, if you're on the line, press *6 to unmute yourself, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak once you begin.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Ford. I'm a parent of a first grader at Baldwin Hills Elementary. I was listening in for a while now, and I'm really thankful that this meeting is filled with people who support community schools and who want community schools to grow and thrive. I am calling in to ensure that you understand how the co-location at Baldwin Hills is impacting our ability to live up to the title of a community school. When my husband and I were searching for a school for my daughter, I needed to look no further than the only school in the entirety of LAUSD who was highlighted in the UCLA study by Dr. Tyrone Howard as a bright spot for cultivating excellence in Black youth. While my daughter is not Black, I know that a school who is committed to serving Black youth through providing a culturally responsive education and making a commitment to teaching the whole child is a school where all students will be able to find success. Centering the needs of Black youth, their families, and neighborhoods must be a priority for all of us. So while it is crucial for us to unpack why only one out of over 1,000 LAUSD schools is currently earning this designation, for my comments today, I will focus on how the co-location at Baldwin is impacting its ability to live up to the potential of a community school. There are things that the community of Baldwin not only needs, but deserves that are being denied due to a lack of physical space because of this co-location. I think we all will say Black children deserve a robotics program. Black children deserve a science lab. Black children deserve performing arts space, yoga, art, full lunchtime, access to play structures, and social emotional learning. These were all vibrant programs and services provided before the co-location. And these are all things that are being robbed from Black children and all of the Baldwin students since the co-location. In the process of emailing and being in meetings with representatives from local District West on the harmfulness of this co-location, the only response we have received is regurgitations about Prop 39 and what the law says. I will hope that this committee is committed to the fight for equitable education. In that commitment, it requires you to be creative in guaranteeing all children receive what they need to reach their full potential as learners and human beings. One of the speakers before spoke about the humanity of our children. So we need to particularly focus on those communities such as Baldwin, who have been historically disenfranchised by a racist educational system. We all know that Prop 39 is disproportionately impacting communities of color and low-income communities. So who is this committee going to be? Are you going to be the committee who demands the highest level of curriculum and instruction for our children, particularly in a community school? Or is this committee going to stay silent while our children's growth and development is stunted by a racist law? Who on this committee will take the first step to support a community school that already exists but is under attack? I will hope that the comments you hear tonight drive you to action to find a way to end this co-location so that
Thank you for your
teachers and
time.
staff.
Thank you for your time. We appreciate it. Evan George, are you on the line? Evan George, if you're on the line, press *6 to unmute yourself, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak once you begin. Evan George.
Yes, thank you. I'm here.
Go
Hello,
ahead.
esteemed educators and members of the school board. Although apparently not our board member, George McKenna, and I'm sad to see that. But we appreciate all of you who are in attendance. I'm the proud parent of a first grader at Baldwin Hills Elementary. Baldwin Hills is a model version of a community school like the ones you've been showcasing tonight. But it's in big trouble and desperately needs your support if it's going to survive. And we need to be able to offer both the curriculum and the services that have been promised. We need LAUSD to not renew the charter school co-location that is choking our campus and depleting resources and space. We love Baldwin. Like a lot of neighborhood families, ours proudly chooses to attend our local school because 1, it's a true community with parents and teachers who play a really involved role. 2, because of the rich instructional offerings, the curriculum the school is supposed to offer: music, STEM programs, culturally responsive learning, and restorative justice. But we have a disaster going on that only you can help us with. The space and resources we need, or as some of your presenters call them, the systems and structures we need, have been stripped unfairly to make room for a charter school that is not for the community. We have kids practicing music on the playground. We have kids being told that they need to eat lunch in silence and fast so that both schools can make it through lunch period. We have no computer lab, no engineering instruction, no private space for much needed mental health counseling. It's really exciting to hear all the curriculum advances that schools presented here tonight. We don't have the basic space to keep our growing. And you're gonna see families leave this community school instead of joining it. And you will see the most vulnerable students among us hurt the most. So we came to plead with our District 1 board member, Dr. George McKenna. You and all your staff members, we need your help and support. But the absence speaks volumes. Our emails and calls have gone unanswered. We're confused why there isn't more leadership on an issue that we know Dr. McKenna cares a lot about. But we feel like we don't have advocacy or representation. So we're respectfully asking that this board, this committee, and other district officials really work with us to find a relocated space for the charter so that Baldwin can be what it's supposed to be. The quote, available space that the district decided years ago could be taken is vital space to our school. So you have dozens of active parents and community members and teachers on this call and at meetings who could be putting their time and energy into building up the community school and curriculum. And instead, we're here asking for your help to just survive. So thank you for listening. And thanks to all of my parent organizer friends on this call.
Thank you for your time, Mr. George. Okay, Zana Gilbert, are you on the line? Zana Gilbert, if you're on the line, press *6 to unmute yourself, and you have 3 minutes to speak once you begin. Zana Gilbert.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Zana Gilbert, and I'm a parent of a second grader at Baldwin Hills Elementary. I'm also here speaking today to draw your attention to the fact that the co-location at Baldwin Hills Elementary does not allow the school to fulfill our promise as a community school. Baldwin Hills is a pure gem of a school with a fiercely dedicated, passionate, and loving teaching staff and other staff. It's a beautiful family and community. As you've heard, it's a majority Black school. It is the only elementary gifted high ability magnet that is co-located. And since today, we've heard so much wonderful information about the value of community schools. We know that no community school should be co-located. As you've already heard, our kids have lost so much. Spaces for their enrichment, community school space, even time to eat lunch, to speak of their social and emotional well-being. Baldwin Hills Elementary should be in a position to implement its community school program to build upon the already stellar work they are doing, not impeded by a charter co-location. It's really a disgrace that LAUSD has not done everything in its power already to foster the powerful learning and community offered at the school, against all odds. If this board cannot help us in this matter, we consider that LAUSD is actively working against our school. This morning, I spoke to my parents in the UK. They are lifelong teachers, public school teachers, and fiercely dedicated to public education. They could not believe the situation I described to them and the reason I was coming to talk at this meeting tonight. I tell you this just because we are in danger of normalizing this situation. I want to remind everyone that it's not normal to occupy a successful school with another school. Members of the board and Superintendent Carvalho, I call on you to act now. Remove the charter from the Baldwin campus. Change the definition for Prop 39. The effects of the co-location are damaging our kids and their academic achievement and amount to social oppression. Our students are being unfairly denied access to educational experiences offered by other community schools in LAUSD. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Kinley LaGrange, are you on the line? Kinley LaGrange? Oh, come on up. Surprise in person. Well, always exciting to see folks here.
A little bit of an empty chamber tonight, but I'm really pleased to hear everything that this group had to bring to the table and all of the comments and questions that you had. They were incredibly thoughtful and just really fill my heart that this is the moment that we need to be here and that I should take time out of my day to be here in person, to speak with all of you. I was definitely hoping that Dr. McKenna would be in attendance, but unfortunately.
Let me just say that Dr. McKenna is ill. He normally would be here. He called me earlier this afternoon and said he really just couldn't do it today because he's not feeling well.
Thank you. I hope he's able to listen in because this is very important for him. My name is Kinley LaGrange. I'm the mother of a first grader at Baldwin Hills Elementary Pilot and Gifted Magnet School. We are a community school, as you've heard so many of my parents and teacher friends mention in this public comment. I'm here to urge you to end the co-location at Baldwin Hills so that we can successfully serve our community as a community school. Baldwin Hills was an easy choice for my husband and I when we were deciding where to send our daughter. The impeccable reputation of the teachers and the curriculum, the success of the pilot program with culturally responsive curriculum and restorative justice practices, they greatly benefit the majority Black student population, immensely benefit them. My daughter, who looks like me, also thrives there. But she and her classmates are not provided an equitable educational experience due to the co-location on our campus that has monopolized facilities, pushing out the valuable enrichment opportunities that they need and deserve, as well as the wraparound services for our low-income students, many of which you've heard tonight about from other parents and also from Jackie Walker, our community school organizer and coordinator. Our community school plan and the pilot plan have been stunted under the current interpretation and implementation of Prop 39, allowing our school to have co-location. Between now and February, the LAUSD school board is going to make a really important decision that's going to have a huge impact on the future success of our school and our students. Please show us that LAUSD is not just working for the schools and charters that educate students that look like mine. I urge you to end the co-location at Baldwin Hills. Thank you for your time and attention.
And thank you. Rita Richard, are you on the line or maybe here in person? Rita Richard, okay. Denise Beck, are you on the line? Denise Beck, if you're on the line, press *6 to unmute yourself and you have 3 minutes to speak once you begin. Denise Beck.
I'm here. I'm here.
All right, go ahead. You have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Denise Beck. I'm a parent of a 5th grader, a 3rd grader. I have a daughter that's graduated already, and I also have an adult sibling that is an alum of Baldwin Hills. My reason for attending this meeting is to really speak up about how sad it is, what's going on at this school, the disadvantage that's taking place on the campus with the students due to the co-location. It's really a big deal. The children at both schools are being greatly impacted adversely because of this situation. Baldwin Hills is such a special place, not only because of the accolades and being one of 2 predominantly Black gifted and high ability magnet schools in LAUSD, but the work that's being done there is so special. There's passion there. The kids aren't only actively learning, but they're happy. They're creators, they're critical thinkers. They have a reputation for, learning how to
manage their emotions through the yoga, chess, art, theater, all of these programs that they can experience now. All of the reasons why I brought my children to this school after going to so many schools, in and out of schools, trying to give my children the best and not wanting to just leave the community and turn a blind eye and do the best, trying to stick in the community, support our children in the community, and be a part of this process. It's sad to see that what we're teaching our children is conflicting. The community school is here to show our kids what they can anticipate in the future, but it's very hypocritical. There's a lack of support due to this co-location. I feel like no one's really listening. And so what happens when you have teachers that are so passionate, parents that are so passionate, kids that are eager to learn? Do they lose their passion? What happens? How does that impact the community? What type of adults are we sending into the community when we really aren't doing our job to support them and their eagerness to learn and do their best? So again, I'm just here to hope that you'll listen and hope that you'll use your platform and your ability to really give these children what they deserve, both at New West Charter and at Baldwin Hills. They deserve a chance. And what's going on at Baldwin Hills, it's sad. The children are not safe due to the scheduling. They don't have time to eat. They don't have time to play. They don't have time to really hone in on their true abilities to thrive in this community. So we hope that you'll listen and really try to support us in giving our children the best. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Carrie Harper Howie, are you on the line? Carrie Harper Howie, are you on the line? Carrie Harper Howie, if you're on the line, press *6 to unmute yourself, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Can you hear me?
You sure can. You have 3
Hello?
minutes. Hi.
Okay, great. Hi, thank you so much. My name is Carrie Harper Howie. I am a proud parent of 2 Baldwin Hills Pilot and Elementary Gifted Magnet School. I have a 5th grader and a 3rd grader. We've been in the Baldwin Hills community for the last 3 years. I also hold the privilege of being our current Governing School Council GSC chair. And at this point, everyone on this call who's in a position of leadership in LAUSD has heard enough that they should be fully and completely outraged by what is happening at a program, at a school that is being is shown to be such a coveted example, a community school. So at this point, you have learned that Baldwin Hills has been a community school for 2 years, and at every single turn, our teachers, our students, and our campus has been encroached upon in a variety of ways that have prevented us from fully maximizing all of the things that all of you have said over the past 2 hours are so vitally important to the mission of LAUSD going forward. And for that reason alone, you should be outraged because it's not necessary. So not only should you be outraged by those things, but allow me to share my personal example that is not only my example, but that of so many parents that I have spoken to, is my child who was a 2nd grader last year, 7 years old, was bullied by children from the charter school because they have to go to the bathroom at the same time. My child, with a friend of his, was shoved back into a bathroom stall, locked inside of that stall, and taunted. And while being shoved, he was hit in the stomach. My dear friend, her 2nd grader this year, exact same thing happened. Multiple example after example, because our community school of Black and brown children has been denied the opportunity to reclaim the space that we need to thrive in all the ways you understand. But how can our children thrive if they literally feel unsafe? They are afraid to go to the bathroom. One of our current first grade classes has to have children bring an extra pair of clothes because their children that have to walk so far away because there are closer classrooms that are being occupied by the charter school. Our first graders, our 5, 6, and 7-year-old babies are afraid to go to the bathroom and they're peeing on themselves. And that should outrage you. But you don't just have to be outraged. You are empowered. You have the ability between now and in the next several months to decide we will not allow this. You have the ability to reinterpret Prop 39, and we are literally begging you to do that. Please act on behalf of our children. Please do not continue to be passive. I and everyone on this call and so many others have sent countless communications asking
Thank you for your
help.
time, Ms. Carrie. Carrie Harper Howie. Thank you for your time, Ms. Howie. We appreciate it. Love Collins, are you on the line? Love Collins, if you're on the line, press *6 to unmute yourself. And you will have 3 minutes to speak once you begin. Love Collins.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Great. My name is Love Collins, and I'm the parent of a 3rd grade student of, if you have not guessed by now, Baldwin Hills Elementary Gifted and High Ability Magnet School as well. I'm present because I believe the potential of the school's programs and curriculum can lay a solid foundation in its entirety. But we need the support of LAUSD to give us the space to fully execute the community school model. Being a pilot and gifted high ability magnet school with a population where more than 80% of our students are Black and brown makes us a gem. The opportunity to expound on our academic excellence by fully implementing the community school model, outreach programs, and necessary resources would make Baldwin exceptionally rare. If Baldwin excels, so does LAUSD. But instead, we are being overlooked. LAUSD is missing the opportunity to continue building on what has made Baldwin successful for almost 80 years. Exceptional, certified, and award-winning educators, a culturally rich learning environment, and a community poised to support and serve. But we are being depleted of our space, and in order to grow the community school. Integrated student support, including mental and social emotional care, is one of the pillars. One of the disturbing effects, as you have heard, of the co-location is our children are being required to eat their lunch in silence to accommodate the charter school and a revolving schedule. It's contradictory to creating a nurturing environment that supports freedom of expression and mental and emotional wellness. Not having space for our Healthy Start program is offensive. Not having a computer lab in 2022 is unacceptable. I'm advocating for a thriving and nurturing education in preparation for a competitive society. Our students should feel confident that we're giving them the best education. But that's not happening. And that is the promise of a community school. But we need to know that LAUSD has Baldwin's back and is willing to do the hard work, is willing to collaborate with Baldwin, and is prepared to support and equip us with the adequate space. Help us get the attention and support of Dr. George McKenna to remove the co-located charter from Baldwin's campus in order to wholly activate the community school model. We want to stop begging and get back to educating our children, not now, but right now. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time. Kara Poole, are you on the line? Kara Poole, if you're on the line, press *6 to unmute yourself, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak once you begin. Kara Poole.
Okay, can you hear me?
We sure can. You have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, board members. My name is Kara Poole, and I am a proud 4th grade magnet teacher at Baldwin Hills Elementary School. I am speaking today to shed light, of course, on how this co-location charter on Baldwin Hills campus is truly prohibiting our ability to operate as a community school. Someone stated earlier that there are only 2 gifted, highly ability magnet elementary schools in LAUSD that serve a predominantly Black student population. And I am delighted to say that Baldwin Hills is one of them. We focus on excellence and growth. However, as a result of us having this co-location charter on campus, it has not only prohibited our growth, it's suffocating us. We understand that revolutionizing education involves teaching the whole child holistically. Yes, it includes teaching them academically, and it also includes being able to provide social services to students and families, offering programs to promote community engagement, offering students enrichment with their learning. This is what a community school is all about. And don't get me wrong, thus far, through the obstacles of the charter school encroaching on our space, our teachers and staff have still managed to become recognized as a California Distinguished School. Through the obstacles, we've been honored by Dr. Tyrone Howard of UCLA Center for Transforming Schools as a bright spot in cultivating excellence in Black youth in LA. This speaks to the desire of our school to do what is best for our young scholars. But our desire and effort is not enough to make Baldwin Hills an effective community school if our efforts are continuously repressed and stifled. Over the past 7 years, we have lost classroom space that provide enrichment for students. We are losing out on having programs such as Healthy Start because we can't accommodate them. When we apply to become a community school, together we envision Baldwin Hills becoming the central hub for our local community. Our children and parents are missing out on community programs and social services that we should be able to offer as a community school, but can't because of a charter infringing on our space, who is not vested in this community, a community that we love and that we've been a part of for almost 80 years. We are calling on you guys to act now. If the board truly cares about supporting and expanding this community school model, we have to take action. We have to take action so that, much like what we've heard tonight with many of the schools who were able to present or the community members, like we heard them tonight, we want to be able to join in with them, being able to succeed and thrive and grow as a community school. And we are asking for the board to help us. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Lucy Freed, are you on the line? Lucy Freed, if you're on the line, press *6 to unmute yourself, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak once you begin. Lucy Freed. Lucy, I see you're signed on to speak. I see your name listed. If you press *6 on your phone, you should be able to speak. Okay, Lucy Freed, we'll come back to you. Joanna Casucci, are you on the line? Joanna Casucci, if you're on the line, please press *6 to unmute yourself, and you have 3 minutes to speak once you begin. Joanna Casucci.
Good evening, Dr. Goldberg and members of the board. My name is Joanna Casucci, and I'm also a parent of a first grade student at Baldwin Hills Elementary in Dr. McKenna's district. I'm speaking today after listening to these powerful principles and beautiful examples of community schools, which have such promise to transform LAUSD and schools around the country, to draw your attention to the fact that Baldwin Hills, in its 2nd year as a community school and its 7th year as a culturally responsive pilot school, has lost countless opportunities to enrich its curriculum and instruction for its majority Black student community because we are forced to co-locate with a charter school. I've been a teacher for 18 years in other districts, and during the past few years as a parent and classroom volunteer at Baldwin, I am astounded by the caliber of teachers and educational leaders at Baldwin. They are truly a dream team, and I've witnessed how their holistic, culturally responsive curriculum and commitment to teaching the whole child has benefited my child's development. Ms. Walker and Ms. Ford mentioned that Dr. Howard at UCLA Center for Transforming Schools recently spotlighted Baldwin Hills for providing excellent education for our majority Black student community. Baldwin Hills does not suffer enrollment declines seen in surrounding schools due to its standing in our community. Our school is truly a crown jewel in our community and in LAUSD. However, we have been trampled on and encroached upon since the forced co-location began 7 years ago. It pains me to think of how many students have lost so much over these years as a result of this co-location. The full potential of Baldwin as a pilot and community school is stunted. And as you've heard from my colleagues and friends, our school community feels cut off at the knees. I heard beautiful words describing community schools tonight. Speaking of integrated student supports, our families experiencing homelessness have lost their Healthy Start Navigator representative. Speaking of expanded and enhanced learning opportunities, we have lost an opportunity for a JPL robotics program. Our school was rejected because there was no space to store the equipment. Speaking of holistic education, our school lost grant funding for a gardening and outdoor education program because there was no longer space to implement it once the co-location started. As you have heard, our students lost their science lab, yoga room, and performing arts room. Speaking of culturally relevant teaching, even though we are the only majority Black gifted high ability magnet elementary school, we are unable to expand to serve more students due to that lack of space. I call on you to act now. Dr. McKenna is not present, but we do call on him to please meet with us and fight for us. We need him. Remove the co-located charter from the Baldwin campus. Change the board's implementation of Prop 39. The effects of this co-location amounts to equity being denied for our students and academic and social oppression. Our students are being unfairly denied access to the promise of a true implementation of community schools. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Siobhan Turner, are you on the line? Siobhan Turner, if you're on the line, press *6 to unmute yourself, and you have 3 minutes to speak once you begin. Siobhan Turner.
Good evening. Hello. My name is
Can you start over? You dropped out for 1 second, so we're going to restart the timer and give you your 3 minutes and then go again. Is that cool?
Yes, thank you.
All right, go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Siobhan Turner. I am the parent of a 5th grader and a 3rd grader at Baldwin Hills. And very excited to be at Baldwin Hills. My husband and I decided to come over to Baldwin Hills from a private school. And the reason we decided to come over was because of not only the education that they provide, but the teachers. The teachers are phenomenal. And so you heard many things and all truths, but not giving the teachers the space to create, not giving the students the space to learn and be, not having room for art, not having room for science, not having all of these things is simply unacceptable. I think at the end of the day, just like in other big movements, we're in this atmosphere where we have diversity, equity, and inclusion at the tip of our tongues at every turn we take. It's imperative that you all really step into the box and play with what we are giving you right now and really fight for us. We can't do this alone. Dr. McKenna can't do this alone. We need all of you to really step inside and really hone in on what you're going to be. Are you going to be the change that we hope to see in the world? Are you going to bring the change that we need at Baldwin Hills? I respectfully implore you all to make the decision to step up and fight, not only for diversity, equity, and inclusion, but for our children, for our school, for giving us the space back that we need to be successful. Not having the things that are imperative is critical. And think of our children as your children. What would you want for them? Give it to us. We trust that you will take all of the information that you learned and you heard tonight, if you didn't already know, and really stand up and be the change we see. Thank you.
Thank you for your time, and I'm going to return very quickly to Lucy Freed. Lucy Freed, if you're on the line, please press *6 to unmute yourself, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak once you begin. Lucy Freed. Lucy, a couple more moments, and then we're going to have to move on. Lucy, are you available? Press *6 to unmute yourself, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak once you begin. Okay, this concludes public comment.
I want to thank Dr. Baez and your staff for putting this all together for us. I want to thank all of you in the technical part of this to make this possible. I want to, he's already gone, I won't thank him again. And I want to thank all of you who have come here to join this meeting and to be a part of it. Thank you so very much. And we are adjourned at
6:18. Have a great evening, everybody.
Good night.